guys. With today being 9/11, we figured we'd just take a minute and just acknowledge it because it is a big part of mine and your history in the
Like,
sense of
yeah,
I remember 9/11 as a kid, and that's when the war on terror pretty much started,
that was the beginning of it.
and it happened my entire life. So
Yeah, and yeah, for you, is your basically your whole life has been the war on terror.
yeah,
For me, that day, that morning, I was brought my daughter down, uh, put her in her chair when I had the news on already, and I'm sitting there and I saw the news, and I'm like, the one of the towers already smoking, and I told my wife, I need a plane hit one of the towers. And where she goes, well, how in the hell do you miss that?
yeah. Like, how does that
Yeah,
happen?
how's that happen? I said, I don't know. I'm sitting there drinking my coffee, and I saw the second plane smack it. Crack. And I go, honey, something's wrong. Another plane hit the other tower. She goes, we're under attack. And I go, yes, we are.
Yeah,
And then it was just, the day went from there. I went to work, and it was like really nobody was in the mood to work. We're kind of like in bed
everybody's caught up on what's
on
going
what's
on.
going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it was, and then from there, just watching this whole thing. Like I said, there's a few events in my life I've seen on TV, and that's probably the worst one because I
yeah,
never
but
thought I'd see the day of our country be attacked.
yeah, it's kind of like growing up and reading about Pearl Harbor,
Right.
and you're like, that'll never happen again.
Never happen again. Then like I said, we talk about like people like my grandmother. She saw this country attacked twice.
And that had
Pearl
to be
Harbor.
just,
Yeah, and I was like, wow. And I was sitting there thinking about it today. I like never thinking we would be attacked with my mentality. Was it my arrogance or ignorance as
yeah,
an American? I don't know yet.
yeah. I think that is a question that,
Yeah.
as Americans, I think, I don't want to even say that question. I think as Americans, people get very comfortable in their lifestyle in the sense of like, the war is over there, this is over there, it's always over there, it never happens here. And like,
And yeah, I think a lot of that is just we have comfort.
yeah,
Me in my military,
yeah.
we're guarded, we're protected.
But then that shock happens. And it's
Yeah.
probably how people felt like at Pearl Harbor
Oh yeah.
in the sense of you see, just comparing this out of like historical, military, like society facts in the sense of you see people get very patriotic, you see the country get very non patriotic. We go through cycles, right?
Right.
But after Pearl Harbor, everybody's patriotic.
Everybody.
After 9/11, the most patriotic I've ever seen in this country.
Oh, in my
American flags
lifetime,
everywhere,
yeah.
everything.
I think the last time I saw patriotism like that, because I was a kid then, was during the hostage crisis in Iran.
Yeah.
Tie the yellow ribbon, want them home type deal. But 9/11, yeah, after that, that just seemed like that was probably the most patriotic. I mean, just think what was going on at stadiums,
Yeah, like
sporting
American
events.
flags, everything is
Yeah,
all American. And I will say, like, those events are very tragic. Even 9/11, it breaks my heart to think about all the people who lost their lives that day and everything that happened and just what all the first responders and everybody went through.
yes.
But on the other side, I will say it is just so humbling and so beautiful to see, like, how the country can come together so quick. Like, it's
Right.
just so fast. Everybody can lay everything down
And
and be an American for that day or that
I
time.
really wish we could do that all the time.
I do. It's just
You
one of
know,
those things that you wish.
you could see it all the time, and I think our country be a way better place if we can do that.
Yeah,
We can just politically resolve our differences, work things out. There's always compromise, but just to be patriotic, like I raise my daughters, no matter what your ideals are about this country, respect the military.
yeah.
Remember, there's somebody out there.
The thing I learned too is like respect your flag,
Respect your flag.
even if you're mad at your government.
You respect your flag still, always.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like for you being, was it second grade?
Yeah.
What was it to you on that day?
I will say, like, in second grade, with that happening, it was kind of like one of those things where like I didn't really know what was going on. I knew it was something very like significant,
Right.
to the point where like all of our teachers are like talking about it and they're all freaking out. School gets out early. I remember specifically, I was living with my real mom at the time, so like my dad wasn't able to pick me up from school. It had to be her,
Yeah.
and she didn't show up till like 4 hours after school released. So like I'm just, as a kid, like this happened, then I'm like, well, did something happen to my mom?
Oh yeah.
My teacher's like obviously freaking out. She wants to go home because she's older,
Yeah.
in the sense of like she's probably in her 30s. Like I want to go home, and I'm just a second grader. Like my mom's not here.
Yeah.
But then shortly after that, like I say shortly, it was like a year later. The invasion happens. My uncle's involved, and like now, like my entire elementary, middle school life was writing letters to soldiers and sending care
Yeah.
packages, and my entire life has been consumed with the
With the
war,
war.
either in
Yeah.
Iraq or Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So like for me, 9/11, the reason why it was so pivotal to me in the sense of like I always grew up playing Army, loved military stuff, military
Yeah.
movies, everything. But I think when that day happened, I think that put a lot of people, even in my age group, like on a trajectory to where we were going to end up there later.
Right.
Because I mean, we just grew up with it. Like my entire life was just about that.
Yeah,
Like
because
guys,
I've known you since you were a young man in high
yeah,
school. You're right. You're then just focused on serving this country. The
yeah,
military stuff. And I tell you, like me too. I always, as a kid, I played. I had a bunch of army men and tanks. My whole backyard was just a battlefield.
yeah,
And then I'd buy the helmets, and me and my buddies would play. So it's like, yeah, I think as much as I say, man, I wish I'd have done things different, but like my mom told me, she goes, I think you were destined for this. Just
yeah.
your passion as a child, you were.
The only thing that I'll say is the difference between if 9/11 would have never happened, I still would have done it.
Right, because you always had an interest in it anyway.
But I think what drove, just like it drove that nail into the coffin,
Yeah.
like right then and there, was that event, because everything leading up to when I could join
Yeah.
was all about
And
someone's uncle just got back, or cousin, or brother just
Right.
joined, or that's all I heard about my
and just
entire life.
I thought, of course, we'd have to look back, and you probably know the recruiting. It probably wasn't very hard back then.
Oh, I think it sounds really terrible to say, but looking at it as a veteran and someone who's in the military, like if you were a recruiter in 2002,
Your
2003,
job was easy.
I don't think you tried very fucking hard. I really don't.
It's almost like Kyle. I feel like when I went in, and probably you did the same thing. We went to them.
Yeah,
They weren't really out there having to come to the schools. And we were. I went and knocked on their door.
I think probably, let's say like if 4 people joined,
Yeah.
3 of them they didn't chase down.
Yeah, I would say
That
that's
fourth
probably
one
right.
they were probably like having to go out there and look
Yeah.
for. But in 2003, 2002, I mean in 2001, there's so many accounts that you look at people and you hear their military story and you hear their career,
Right.
and they're all like the day after 9/11 in the recruiting office.
Oh yeah.
And I will say, probably as a recruiter, it was hard in the sense of you had too many people.
Right, because not everybody's qualified.
Yeah.
So
Like, hey man, we get it,
Your passion, yeah, but
but we're
you're
not
right.
at that point yet.
Right.
But yeah, it's crazy to think about. That many people, and it's probably what America experienced after Pearl Harbor, in the sense of
Yep.
nobody really wanted to be involved in World War II.
Right.
Pearl Harbor happens, and then there's so many accounts of dudes just like
Yeah.
flooding the recruiting stations.
And then like that, just the flood, and then again fighting on a world stage. Probably they had to implement the draft. We need more people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
the draft. I think the draft didn't get implemented until a little bit later.
Yeah,
But then you look
my
at every
grandfather,
war after
one of my
that.
grandfathers was a draftee. Yeah.
But then you look at every war after that. It's draft.
Yeah.
And then the war on terror.
Yeah.
No draft.
No draft. Didn't need it.
And I'm not saying that we met the complete numbers. I'm just saying obviously the government, the military, everybody kind of found a different way to go about warfare, but
Right.
you also just had that flood of numbers in the sense of America was ready to fight for America.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people, I'm not trying to get in the political view of it. I'm just saying, I think that's probably why people are pissed off. 20 years later, we're fighting a war that, I think everybody was like, we'll join up, we'll fight, we'll end this shit 3 years later, or 2 years, a year later, whatever, it's
Right.
done, it's over. Because what the last conflict was your generation, right?
What
Desert
was the
Storm?
big one was Desert Storm, yeah.
And you guys crushed it.
Yeah, I mean,
In
we
the
did.
sense of, like,
right,
you
as
met your
in,
task.
We made our task. What they much some of us didn't like it.
Right.
What they want us to.
But government and
The
society
government
was
said,
like,
"Hey, we're going to stop here. This is our goal. We met our goal." Then
come home.
so yeah.
So I think a lot of people, and I'm not saying I wasn't them at the time, but I'm saying I think a lot of people probably thought that that's how it was going to go. In the sense of maybe it'll be a year,
yeah,
maybe it'll be 9 months.
right. And we.
I don't think America signed up for a 20-year war. I think that people signed up for, like,
and I don't think any
let's
country
crush
really
this
does.
quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think like in my time, it was a different general, one General
Yeah.
Schwarzkopf, and the other thing we had really strong. Besides, we unleashed everything we had on them.
Yeah.
The world was behind all this too.
Yeah.
And that's where I think personally we made the mistake not finishing the job while the world was behind you.
Right.
So, but General Schwarzkopf had his reasons.
Yeah. A different time, different era.
Yeah.
But like we were talking about, we kind of gave a little spot on where we were and stuff, and
Yeah.
I think this is definitely something we could probably get into later. But for right now, I just want to make sure that
The honor.
everybody takes time today and just
Reflect, especially
reflect on where you were, what was happening,
yeah,
and how it affected you and the people around you.
to teach those who weren't born yet what this day really means. Always
Which
like
is
we
crazy to
always
think of.
educate your kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to me, just the innocent lives. It's one thing as soldiers we always talk about being combat soldiers. We volunteer for, so we understand the risk. But
Yeah.
when when there's innocent American lives get killed, that fucking bothers me.
Yep.
About that burns in me for
I
a
agree
long
with you.
time.
I agree with you. Well, guys, take time today and just reflect and, like you said, educate. Talk to everybody. It is very important to look around and see where you were and what was going on, and I think that's how we keep it alive, and that's how we, it is a sad time and things, but we have to remember it. We have to remember the people. We have to remember what went on that day. And like you said, we got to teach the new generation, and honestly, just keep those people alive. Don't let them get forgotten over just because it's been time. Just keep bringing it up in the sense of take time to reflect and teach and educate and honor.
Yeah.
And yeah, just take time to reflect on it. And if anybody has anything or they want to tell us where they were or what was going on that day or what they thought or their thoughts or how it got them in or whatever, leave something in the comments. We'll get in contact with you and we'll share your story later on.
No problem. Yeah. So that's it. That's all I have to
That's
say.
it.
Yeah, just take care, but God bless America.
Yeah, never forget.